all of you and the panelists as well as the alumni present here. The topic for today's session is a roadmap for higher education, hope and scope, avenues in India. So, coming on to the introductions, Raman sir, I would like you to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Glad to be here talking to all of you today. I'm Raman. I passed out, as you know, in 96. And right now, at this point of time, I head HR for ABB India. So as you know, I shifted from engineering to HR after 2 years of working. And here I am. So looking forward to the interaction.
Right. Thank you, sir. Maitri ma'am, would you like to go next?
Sure, thanks, Pooja. Hello, everybody. Same here, 96 batch. And after my postgraduate diploma in management, over 23 years plus years of experience in sales, operations, and consulting in the tech and analytics industry. Currently leading the CPG business for Europe for Fractal Analytics, which is a niche analytics provider. Happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation today. Thanks, Pooja. Back to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Summarize, sir, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I guess everybody's in India, so good evening, everybody. Nice meeting you. Myself, Tamari Subramaniam, um, 96 batch. I'm currently based out of Singapore, heading the data analytics practice for Wipro for Southeast Asia, which comprise of most of the Southeast Asian countries. And after passing out, I spent a couple of years working, post which I did my PGDM from IMK. After that, been in sales all throughout, nothing else but sales selling. That's all I do, I think, for a living. And that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, I believe. So that's it from me. Over to you, Apurva.
Thank you, sir. Anand sir, would you like to go next?
First, thank you, Pooja. I'm audible?
Yes, Anand.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
There you are.
Yeah. So I'm Anand Agrawal, Mechanical 96. That's why the way we used to give our intro when we were in the first year. And I did my civil services in 99. And presently I am director of National Academy for Defense Financial Management. And based out right now at Pune, but presently very close to you guys, traveling from Banaras to Allahabad.
Okay, thank you, sir. So let's begin with the session. My first question is for Samarai, sir. What was your field of higher studies and what all aspects did you consider while making that choice?
Sorry, if you could just, I think I missed you on the first part, Apurva, if you could please.
It was about your field of higher studies which you chose, like MBA or MTech or whatever. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Right. So, yes, if I have to go back in time, it was an obvious choice after having picked, sales as a career, and uh, and I had a manager who was from IIM Bangalore, and he pushed me towards that, and he convinced me that if I'm supposed to, or whatever, if I'm looking myself as a person who would want to continue a career in sales, an MBA would be a good choice. So that was the reason what pushed me towards it. I mean, as the years passed, it was getting difficult to clear CAT. So somehow managed, to be very frank, and rest is history. Yeah. It does get difficult as you're preparing for CAT and when you're working. So but good part is that then B schools did give weightage for experience. So it really helped for people with a lot of experience to get into B schools as well at that point in time. Yeah.
And as you said that currently you are working in the sales department. So, like, what exactly is the work that you do, and like, how can the students prepare for that field?
Um, I mean, there's a very good question. I've never thought through it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if there is anything called preparation, it's just that a lot of people. I mean, with a lot of people start their career with sales, given a good opportunity. Um, but most of them, I feel they kind of evolve into that space, and especially in when you look at in the sales that I am in, which is enterprise. Basically, when you sell to an enterprise, um, the expectation is that you've matured into that role. Uh, so you basically build yourself into that. Not many I have seen get a break to start their career with sales. Very few, usually after engineering, typically. And I remember, if I remember right, if my memory serves, uh, we had very few organizations. I think HCL was one, DCM Data Systems was one. Uh, and just correct me if there was any other company which specifically hired for sales functions. I
BCL and ITW Signode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
just
Yeah.
and even
So
RPG also had some.
RPG, yes, yes. So I think a very small percentage of folks actually got a break on campus to get into a pure play sales role, and most of us, like me, and I think Nair is another one who kind of evolved himself into a sales function over a period of time. So yeah, then you get out and then you realize that this is what is your passion and this is what probably you want to do. Uh, after trying few different jobs, then you realize that you're not cut out for that, and then you pick that this is what you want to do, and then you stick to that and you build on it. And if you need to add uh, qualifications to enhance that bit of yours and get better with that, I think that's always welcome. And one is that through and I'm sure Maitri is also from Ahmedabad, and she understands that there's a lot of alumni connect that happens when you pass out of the B schools, a premier B school to say with. So that really helps in establishing connects and contacts, and that furthers your career in sales. So that's how I look at it.
Thank you, sir, for such an elaborate answer. My next question is to Maitri ma'am. Why did you choose to go for higher studies in India, and like how did you compare between studies in India and abroad?
Okay, that's actually a very tough question for me because I don't think I ever thought about going abroad for studying. I just I had kind of made up my mind that I want to study in India. Um, I don't know. I never even thought about going abroad, so I can't really do that comparison. On why I decided to go study more, I think I'd also kind of echo what Tamarai said. Um, I wasn't very clear whether I wanted to be in sales or marketing or finance, but I did know that I wanted to do a little bit more than engineering. And at that point in time, I thought that the options that I would have would be much more if I went for an MBA. And the other thing I also knew was that if I want to, go for actually get into any course, I had to do it then. Because again, echoing what Tamarai said, working and studying for, for those entrances that you have to do, that's definitely not something that I would even have been able to manage. I know myself very well. So I knew that if I have to do it, that's the only window I had, which was in my final year. And so I decided that I'm going to apply to all the B schools that I had made a list of. And luckily enough, I was able to get through into one. So I just went into that. I didn't even think about applying abroad, honestly, because at that point in time, I had no intention of working anywhere but in India.
Okay, and as you said that you wanted to do something more than engineering. So, like in terms of opportunities, what do you think? Like, are there less opportunities if we directly look for a job after doing our bachelor's, or like after MBA, are there more opportunities or something?
On hindsight, I would say I think right now at least the opportunities are immense, even for engineering. But again, it depends on what you want to do. So if you do want to get into sales or marketing or maybe finance, those may not always be available to engineers directly from, after finishing their engineering. This is my view, and I, also ask the others to add to this. But having said that, once you do start working, right, it's not always that you have to go back for higher studies, for higher education. You can still like manage, based on where you are and what aptitude you have. You can always switch careers at any point in time. And I see that changing now. I wouldn't say that it was the same when we worked. We started working, 23 years back. So, it wasn't the same then, but I do think that now the opportunities are immense. And Tamarai, Anand, Raman, please do add to what I've said. Especially, I guess, Raman, since you are also in HR, you will, have a very different perspective from all of us.
Sure, I'll share that bit now when it comes to me. I'll do that, Purva.
Okay, yes, sir. You can add like right now.
Right now? Okay. So, okay. So again, because I'm in HR, maybe I'll give a bit of experience from my own and a little bit of more comprehensive perspective in terms of how you can build your career from whether to go for higher studies or not. So like I think both Tamrai and Maitreyi said, it's a function of what you really want. And I also saw some of the questions which talked about whether to go for higher studies immediately or after working for some time, whether in India or abroad. So maybe I'll try to attempt to answer that also. Purva, if that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I think if you are clear about what you want, so for example, you are passing out in electrical or mechanical or whatever it is, and you're pretty clear that you like what you're doing, as in this is what you've studied and you want to build your career there, then I think it's better to start working straight away after campus. And then maybe after a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, then you decide if this is something you like, you want to continue, then there is no need for further studies because you can as well build whatever competencies and skills that are required in the job. But let's say if you're not sure, if you're not sure of the choices you have made and you want to explore something else, that's the time when you will think about doing higher studies, and whether it's an MBA or MTech would be a function of that. Now, for me, for example, if I were to talk about myself, I'm a mechanical engineer. Even in final year, I was not very sure that I wanted to build my career as a mechanical engineer. But because I was tentative, I didn't want to go for an MBA straight away. So I actually worked in Kirloskar Oil Engines as an engineer for a couple of years. And during those time, I was very sure that yes, HR is the field that I want to get into. And then for me, as an XLRI was the choice because it was the best college for HR at that point of time. So I pursued HR, and last 21 years I'm in HR. So I would suggest the same thing, that if you're sure of what you're doing, then maybe immediately after campus, get into that job, and then allow yourself the flexibility as you continue to gain experience to decide what you want to do. And again, between MTech versus an MBA. So MBA typically would give you a non-technical career. So those of you who want to kind of not build yourself as technocrats or don't want to get into technical fields, then MBA becomes obviously the right choice. Now, whether to do it after or immediately, again, as I said, is a function of you want to experiment, work for some time, then be sure, or you are already sure. Let's say like for Matra, she was sure very at the time of campus itself that this is what she want to do. Then, so there is nothing right and wrong in that sense. It's more a function of what you want at that point of time. And India versus abroad, I think from what I see, I think it was the same 20 years back or 25 years back today also, that if you go for a degree abroad, it does provide you a global platform. So depending on your financials, your ambition of where you want to be, you could take that call. Honestly speaking, for myself, at that point of time, I was, as in for me, this career change from engineering to HR itself was such a big thought that I never really even thought that I should go abroad. I was like, okay, let me just get it here. But yes, on hindsight, if I think about it, if I had more choices, if I had thought about it more, maybe I would have explored even going abroad at that point of time. So the input then I would give is talk to as many people as possible, and now information is available to all of you. So then explore all possibilities, and depending on whether you want to continue in India or you want to have a global platform, that should decide whether you want to do your post graduation in India or you want to go abroad. So that's broadly how I would say from my perspective.
Okay, sir. And for instance, if someone takes up a job immediately after doing their BTech, and then like it's not easy for everyone to give up what they're earning and then go for higher studies. So, what do you think should be the roadmap for those kind of people who would like to explore new opportunities, but like how can they manage their financial needs with that?
See, financially, if you start working, and then I'm assuming the question is that you started working and then you want to also go for further studies. So it should be a function of time. So maybe you need to kind of save that money. Maybe instead of 2 years, you can take 5 years, and then you need to manage your finances accordingly. That how much you need to spend to maintain yourself, maybe take care of your family, versus how much support you can or how much of kitty you can create. And again, I don't know too much about foreign studies, but I do know that if you are an amazing professional in terms of your academics, etc., you do get a lot of financial support in terms of grants, etc. In India also, I know that now at our time, I think it was not so expensive to go for an MBA, but today it's pretty expensive. So in that case, the other thing is I think loans are pretty easily available for good kids. So I don't think finances should be a concern for anyone unless I think they need to earn to be able to support their family. So then I think it's a different thing. So in that case, maybe the time horizon might change. So instead of 2 years, they may take 5 years, in which time they need to kind of balance in terms of how much they spend, how much they provide for the family. And then once they have done the basics, maybe at that time they can then go ahead, because yes, 2 years of no earning is could be difficult for many of us.
Yeah, and adding to that, I think now you also have the option of executive MBAs, which which are actually quite well recognized. So you can work and study. So again, that's a function of time and what you're able to manage, but that's also something that you could look at.
And just one more point to what Raman and Maitri added, that nowadays companies are encouraging people as well. They are sponsoring, executive education. And if you want to switch your career based on your, obviously it calls for a lot of hard work, and you need to be there to be recognized and to be selected as someone who is eligible to do something else. So those options are available, and I mean, I can speak on behalf of the organization that I represent. They do encourage a lot of people to do, executive leadership programs, and they do even pay you for that. So it's not that if you're not able to get a break in the very year one and year two and year three, it's gone. It's nothing like that. You can still continue and hopefully make an impression within the organization that you're working for, and get the higher education done at the expense of the company itself.
Right. Thank you for the answer. My next question is to Maitri ma'am. Ma'am, could you elaborate more on the top Indian colleges for MBA and like give an insight to the students for that?
Okay, I mean, I guess, even now, 20 years, 25 years since we passed out, the IIMs still hold a lot of, still hold value. Um, so, yeah, and I know it must be tougher now to get into the IIMs, but beyond that, also there are a lot of B schools now. I mean, ISB, of course, has made a name for itself. Beyond, I mean, of course, there's XLRI, FMS. They are actually, I think, even tougher to get into than the IIMs because you only have one XLRI and one FMS and one IIFT. And also, there are a lot of tier 2 B schools now, which seem to do pretty well. Maybe when people are actually evaluating all these B schools, you could look at, their placement history. How have they actually helped place the students in there who passed out previous years? What kind of companies are actually coming there, which would give a good view when you're making a decision. So, and yeah, is this what you wanted from me, or was there something else to the question?
It was just the names of some top colleges and like also I would like to follow up on this question that like what can be the preparations for MBA and what qualities should one develop in order to get a tier 1 college?
Okay. Um, Let me think about that. So I'll just, talk from my experience what I did, and then I'll also allow the others to speak about what they did. Um, I think, and now obviously we've all got information from the Right to Information Act. So we do know what at least the IIMs look for. So they do look for a previous academic history. I think that actually makes a huge impact in the overall scores that they look at. Plus, of course, how you do in the exams themselves. And after that, of course, there is the group discussion. So I think for the exams, we were in Allahabad. We didn't really have access to classroom training at that point in time. So I remember subscribing to one, I guess, IMS, which everybody else would have done. I don't know. Now, I guess there is also time. There are a lot of other courses like that you can take. I remember that the past 3 months, like we used to have the exams in December. So before that, I think 3 months, every day or maybe every other day, I would do a test. I mean, I studied the study material. I did a test every day. And I have to say that living in a hostel really helped me because even if I didn't want to do it, my friends would actually push me into doing that because they knew how important that was for me. So, and once you pass the first round and then you have your group discussions, I think there um, it is obviously it is very competitive. You are with people who are very articulate, so you do need to know about a lot of issues as well. I think reading, maybe just being political, not let me not go there, but being aware of things other than just your subject matter does make a lot of difference, gives you a lot of confidence to um, to kind of shine in some of these group discussions. And the group discussions anyway are not, they don't expect you to know things. You will have a case study and you need to kind of analyze it. So I think you need to kind of build that analytical ability to be able to be succinct and to the point when you're talking. But having said all this, I do want to share one nugget. So when I appeared for CAT and got shortlisted, I had got shortlisted for all the IIMs, and I had these group discussions to go to. So I think in the IMA group discussion, they gave you a case study and they asked you to kind of analyze that. And, there were some questions that you had to kind of come up with solutions for as a group. So that was quite okay. Most of the group discussions were okay, but I remember the one I remember most is the IM Lucknow group discussion where everybody was like really aggressive, very articulate, and everyone was screaming on top of each other. And I just couldn't get in a word edgeways. I just couldn't do anything. And I thought, okay, this is done. I'm not like, going to be able to make it through. I am Lucknow. But after the group discussion is the interview. So in the interview, they actually asked me to assess my performance in the group discussion and how I could do better. And I think I was pretty transparent and honest there. And despite me not expecting, I did get a call from I am Lucknow also. So I think, being confident about what you do, trying to be analytical, and in the interview being authentic and honest and transparent. I mean, obviously, people who are interviewing you can kind of assess you. So, being really authentic helps. That's what I can kind of think about for now. But if anyone else has anything to add, please do.
Samarai sir and Raman sir, would you like to add something to this?
I'll let Raman go first.
Yeah. So I think Maitrey very well, I think comprehensively covered most of the things. So as in all you need is discipline and taking that time out to kind of structure yourself and keep testing, retesting. So like anything in life, you need to know where you are. So you do a test, understand where you are in terms of the test, and then where do you need to be able to kind of then get through the exam. So and that defines how much of effort you need to put in. So that is the effort part. I think the only thing I would add to what Maitreya said is the English language or comprehension, because we as engineers are very good at maths, physics, etc. So analytic, all those things come naturally to us. And for me specifically, again, I come from UP, so English was a big deal, and I was not very well read. So in fact, those 2 years also gave me the time to really read up a lot of stuff beyond the technical books and newspaper basics, getting into those habits. So which kind of helps you throughout, whether in group discussion, whether in interviews, etc. So that's the other bit I would add. Read up a lot. Read up multiple things. Read on politics, read on religion, read on history, sociology, everything, because that helps you again from a comprehension perspective. Also, it helps you in group discussion also, and it helps you in the interview also. And it does help you later on in life also, because otherwise, the fact that you are going for an MBA means that you are not building a career only as a technocrat. So then that overall knowledge would be really, really helpful. Over to you, Tamrai.
No, I think you both have covered comprehensive. There's nothing much to add, I guess. I mean, you've covered all. All. I mean, I'll give it a pass unless Anand has something to add, how he went about it.
Yeah, it's a tough call actually. Particularly when if you are thinking of joining civil services, the most important thing is luck, hard work, and the biggest uncertain exam. When I have seen the people from IITs and Bombay, Delhi, Kanpur, they wasted around 7 to 8 years and they could not qualify, and ultimately they have to restart from their life after IIT Bombay, maybe doing some small course from some other school and other institute, and then look for a good job or a small job. And because they prepared for this exam for around 8 years and they were unlucky. They were not incapable, or their capacities were anyway, lesser than anybody else. But the only point was that they were unlucky. So my suggestion or my counsel for any of you who are civil services aspirants, just think, be very sure before coming to it, because it requires a lot of endurance and a lot of capacity to handle frustration. People maybe lesser than you may be qualifying, you may not be, you may need another year for that. So one has to be very, very clear. Okay, fine, I want to be here. I'm ready to give 5 years of my life, because many times you may be very, very intelligent, but your luck is not in your favor, so it doesn't go through. You have to again go whole hog again. So anybody civil service aspirant in India, first of all, don't do that. Not worth. You are getting much lucrative offers and compensations or power or whatever it is outside government also at much lesser effort. Like our time, we used to clear gate just to get a scholarship for preparing for UPSC. So for us, the MTech was not a thing at that time. MTech was a person who was not getting the job or was preparing for the civil services. Only these two people used to do MTech at that time. I don't know what is the thought process now. So giving it a try, civil service is not a very, very, very noble thought, or I won't say it's a very good thought right now, unless until you want to really give 5 years of your life after your engineering. Otherwise, best is go for some good MBA and have fun. So that's my 2 cents.
And just probably want to add a few things to what my friend said. Today I was reading an article that there is going to be a big a boom. The requirement for IT personnel is going to be some unprecedented number. Even if that number is even if it is fractionally true, it is still mind-boggling. Everybody's opening up shop. So the point what I was trying to drive at is that I think most of you would probably end up having job offers at hand by the time you pass out, because the economy and the IT sector especially is going through an unprecedented demand. I mean, and the demand is it's I think the last time we saw that kind of a demand was in 2003-4, when the entire digital transformation was going through, and now we are seeing another phase of digital transformation, whether it's everybody's revamping their entire infrastructure. So there is a massive, and all these new age companies coming through. So the temptation of getting a job and settling with a good salary is very high, which was not the case with us when we started our career. We still had Maitri may not understand that, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, I can tell you, when I started my career, the money was not great. So, one of the drivers for doing an MBA also was like, when do we get to drive a car? I mean, when do you hop go beyond a bike. That was one of the drivers, and be very frank with you. So the money was not great, but today the engineers are earning, as Anand rightly mentioned, they are earning really, really well. I mean, the money is, you could probably own a car in the very first year of your job after engineering. So I'll go back to what Raman says. If you really want to do and excel in something that that interests you, then yes, pursuing it means sacrificing. I mean, sacrificing your good, nice, salary and good office. I mean, you could still get into the Googles of the world and the LinkedIn's of the world, and all these guys offer you good life, good money, uh, whether you do higher education or not. And that's the feeling that I have. So yes. It is going to be difficult to make a choice but then if you made a choice, then it should be out of real passion and interest what you want to do.
Thank you, everyone. My next question is to Anand, sir. Sir, since you are in the field of defense, what was your motivation behind going into that field?
Again, I will be honest. अच्छा, इसमें से आप लोग हिंदी कितने बोलते हैं? सब वो जानते हैं हिंदी?
यस सर,
Yes, sir.
जानते हैं सर।
तो हिंदी में बात करें, क्योंकि मैं काफी एक्चुअली बनारस और इलाहाबाद के बीच में हूँ, तो अंग्रेजी बोलने का मन नहीं कर रहा। काफी ज्यादा वो भावनाएं जो हैं नॉस्टैल्जिक टाइप की हो जाती हैं यहाँ आके। तो सबसे पहले ये बताइए, क्वेश्चन पूछिए। अब डिफेंस का आपने पूछा मुझसे कि मुझे क्या मोटिवेट किया। अगेन मैं आपके ऑनेस्ट ये रहूंगा कि मुझे शुरू से, मैं फ्यूडल मेंटेलिटी का इंसान था, छोटी से शहर से पढ़ा था, गांव का था। तो शुरुआत से जब से होश संभाला तो यही था कि पावर सरकार के पास होती है। तो मैंने 12th के बाद लाइक आई वाज टॉपर इन होल एमपी एंड आई वाज गेटिंग एनी ब्रांच। मैंने मैकेनिकल ली थी क्योंकि मुझे सिविल सर्विसेज देना था। मैंने कंप्यूटर्स नहीं ली क्योंकि उस समय एक सब्जेक्ट नहीं हुआ करता था ये। सो इट वाज जस्ट नथिंग डिफरेंस, नथिंग। इट वाज जस्ट कि एक पैशन था, सिविल सर्विसेज में जाना है, सरकार में जाना है। तो उसमें जो सर्विस मिली, एग्जाम दिया, पहले एग्जाम अटेम्प्ट में क्लियर हो गया, ज्वाइन कर ली, जो सर्विस मिली उसमें आ गए। बट so there was no specific motivation for defense, but yes, for the government service.
Okay, sir. And as you said, कि government में ज़्यादा power होती है and engineers these days are being well paid. So which one would you like ask students to prefer?
देखिए, पावर जो है ये एक बहुत बड़ी सोच है। मतलब आपको लगता है जो पावर है, अगर आप उसको मिसयूज करना चाहते हैं, हमें जो समझ आता है, जो मैं अपने प्रोबेशनर्स को बोलता हूँ, पावर वो तभी है जब मिसयूज की जाए। जब वो यूज की जाती है वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बन जाती है।
क्या बात है, वाह।
तो इसलिए आप जब भी जा रहे हैं तो बहुत क्लियर थॉट से जाइए। ये पैसे पावर के लालच में मत जाइए। भारत चेंज हो रहा है, डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमी से डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी की तरफ बढ़ रहा है, फ्यूडल मेंटेलिटी कम होगी। ये सरकार की जो डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर्स हैं वो सब विद सिटीजन मूवमेंट कम होती जाएंगी विद आईटी के साथ। तो आप रियल में कुछ काम करना चाहते हैं एंड इट्स ए गुड सेक्टर। मतलब आपको, अगर आप रुपए में आते हैं, अच्छी सर्विस में आते हैं, आपको सरकार बहुत कुछ देती है, लाइफ आपकी स्मूथ चलती है, लेकिन उतने पैसे नहीं मिलते तो प्राइवेट वाले देते हैं। और तो इसमें आप डिफेंस में जो है आपका, तो मेरा ऐसा कोई स्पेसिफिक मोटिवेशन नहीं था, बस ये था मुझे सरकार में। और आपने इससे क्या पूछा आगे क्वेश्चन?
I'll just, Anand, with the permission, I'd like to add to what Anand is saying and Purva to answer that question. This versus that. Again, it has to be a very, very individual answer to what that person needs at this point of time. So let that be the driver rather than ye karna hai ya wo karna hai. Matlab, what is your passion? So you want to kind of maybe work for the government, then that becomes a choice. You want to earn money, that becomes a choice. You want to get into sales, that's a choice. You want to be a technocrat, that becomes a choice. So let that be the choice. And I'll also add another thing, Purva. I think for most of you guys, as in the next 3 to 5 years, as you start working, most of you will also get the time to reconsider your choices. So don't feel that you have committed to a choice and you can't change it. I think we had that choice. You guys would have even more choices now. So commit to what you want right now. Experience what you are going through, because working will be very different than what you would have experienced so far. And then allow that experience to again let you make that choice in 1 year time, 2 years time, 3 year times on what you want to do. And just another point, even government is also allowing private sector or private sector professionals to get into government now laterally. So that choice might be available to many of you for whom money is important, and nothing wrong with that. So you want to earn good money, create a bank balance, maybe work for 20 years and then get into government. So those choices are also available to a lot of you. So you can look at that. So just allow what you want to dictate your choices rather than this or that.
Yeah, and actually,
Apurva,
if you don't
Yeah.
mind,
yeah,
is
just sorry, Maitri, please continue.
okay. So yeah, adding to that, another thing is honestly, even now, I'm not 100% sure of, what exactly I want to continue to do for the rest of my life. And I think the kind of world that we live in now allows us to make that change, and please embrace that change. Like Raman said, right? You can keep reconsidering. You feel that, yes, right now I want to be a technocrat. You do that 2, 3 years, and then maybe I want to try something else. See, the world is your oyster. So you should always be open to embracing.
Hello.
Anand, you were saying something. Yeah, Anand.
हाँ, मैं रमन इसी बात में बोल रहा था कि जो ये चॉइस है, जैसे आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि पावर, पैसा और बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स हैं लाइफ में, आप उसके बेसिस पे आपको एक रियल चॉइस बनानी है। बी विद गुड इंटेंशंस, उसके हिसाब से जो भी आपको सही लगता है, कि आपको लगता है कि यस आपको देश में रहना है, कुछ करना है, साथ में आपको अच्छी फैसिलिटीज चाहिए और यू कैन डू समथिंग, रिकॉग्निशन बेटर है, तो आपके लिए शायद गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर बेटर होगा। सिविल सर्विसेज में आने के लिए मेहनत करनी चाहिए। और अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं, मुझे आई डोंट वांट टू रिस्क माय 5 इयर्स, नेक्स्ट 5 to 6 इयर्स, उसकी बजाय मैं थोड़ा सा जहाँ पे मोर कॉन्फिडेंट हूँ, आई कैन परस्यू द सेम कैरियर। अगर मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है MBA या किसी और चीज़ में, मीन्स मैनेजमेंट साइड में, आई मोर फील कंफर्टेबल विद टेक्निकल थिंग्स, देन सीधा बीटेक के बाद अपना जॉब ज्वाइन करिए। अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं मुझे कोई दूसरी फील्ड में मूव करना है, और ये मालूम पड़ता है धीमे धीमे। मैंने सबसे पहले एक LNT में जॉब ज्वाइन किया, वो छोड़ा, उसके इंडियन इंजीनियरिंग सर्विसेज की, वो छोड़ी, टीचिंग का जॉब किया, वो छोड़ा, एंड देन उसके बाद सिविल सर्विसेज में सेटल हुआ। तो गवर्नमेंट के अंदर ही बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, बहुत सर्विसेज हैं, तो ये लड़ाई चलती रहेगी, द्वंद चलता रहेगा। जस्ट लिसन टू योर हार्ट कि मेरा दिल क्या कह रहा है, एंड ट्राई टू फॉलो दैट।
Thank you, sir. And sir, as you said that UPSC preparations में मतलब सब लोग succeed नहीं हो पाते हैं, तो what should be their backup option if they do not succeed after those number of years?
बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है पूर्वा, क्योंकि ये सेम डिलेमा मेरे साथ था। तो इनमें से कई जानते हैं मैंने कैंपस नहीं दिया काफी समय तक, बट धीमे धीमे सारे दोस्त सेलेक्ट होते गए, तो फिर डर लगने लगा कि अब क्या, इसके बाद अगर सिविल सर्विसेज देते हैं नहीं हुआ तो क्या। तो फिर मैंने सोचा कि मुझे भी कैंपस ले लेना चाहिए, एंड आई वर्क अराउंड फॉर ईयर इन LNT, सो दैट कि ओके अगर मुझे नहीं मिलता है 4-5 साल के बाद, इफ आई गिव 2-3 अटेम्प्ट, मेरा सिलेक्शन नहीं होता है, तो मेरे पास एटलीस्ट 1 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है किसी कंपनी में काम करने का। सेकेंड रिस्क आई टुक कि आई अपीयर फॉर द गेट, कि गेट में किसी अच्छे स्कोर करके किसी IIT वाईटी में एडमिशन ले लेंगे, ISC बैंगलोर में ले लेंगे, इधर पे एमटेक होती रहेगी, इधर 6,000 रुपये मिलते रहेंगे खर्चा चलाने के और प्रिपरेशन करने के। तो जैसे मैंने आपसे कहा था कि उस समय हमारे गेट में जाने के 2 ही रीजन होते थे लोगों के, या तो जॉब यहाँ नहीं मिल रहा इंजीनियरिंग करके, या क्या बोलते हैं सिविल सर्विसेज तैयारी कर रहे हैं, एक्चुअली बहुत बड़े साइंटिस्ट हैं इसलिए आप करना चाहते थे। वो बहुत कम होते थे, शायद वो 0.001% होते थे। तो ये तो दैट्स ऑल, तो ये पॉइंट है इसमें।
Okay, thank you, sir. Since we have only 15 minutes left into the session, I'd like to take up Q&A from the students. You can raise your hand if you have any doubts.
I think given that nobody is raising a hand, I'll try to answer one question which was asked for everyone. Is how do you prepare? So while our batch is not so fortunate, there is a guy known as Patrick D'Souza. You can Google him. Patrick D'Souza has been cracking CAT for the last 10, 15 years. Obviously, he doesn't need to do his MBA because he did it from SP Gen. But if you guys need any help, reach out to him. He's the 97 batch pass out of REC Allahabad. And he runs his own coaching institute in Bombay. I don't know what is his entry criteria. I'm sure it has nothing to do like Quota Factory. But you guys might want to get in touch with him.
Yes, sir,
Question.
rightly said. Last year we had a session with Patrick sir also.
Good.
So interesting enough, the panel we had were all people who did either MBA or post graduation.
सुधीर हम
Is
लोग
there
को
anybody
क्वेश्चन सुनाई नहीं
who
पड़ रहे
has
हैं
any interest on MTech?
सुधीर
क्वेश्चन कुछ आ नहीं रहे आनंद
क्वेश्चन सुनाई नहीं पड़ रहे हैं या समझ नहीं आ रहा
हाँ नहीं अभी क्वेश्चन नहीं आनंद we just talking just building on the earlier question.
One of the questions that I have from student side is that are there any opportunities other than MBA or MTech for CSE and civil department specifically?
PhD and civil, can you elaborate? I couldn't see the connection.
Like students have asked from CSE and civil departments if there are like other opportunities apart from MTech or MBA for them for higher studies.
I think, it all depends on their interest. At least, I mean, civil, I can immediately think about getting into areas like urban planning, public policy, you could do those through, I mean, and I'm again going into higher education only. I'm not talking about getting right into a career. And you can do that, while working, you can also get maybe you'll know what is really of interest to you, but definitely for civil I would think urban planning, public policy, all of those would be of interest. Computer science, I guess, I mean, everybody gets into IT, but you can obviously get into more of the engineering, both the hardware and the software side, get into really technical stuff, right? So and I don't know, again, for that I have seen people who have gone for higher education, but a lot of the brightest people I've seen are also, right, getting into the nuts and bolts of what they want to do right after engineering and kind of focused on it all through. And I think for that, they probably were very clear right from day one where they saw themselves.
And Purva, I'd like to add, there is no limit to the amount of choices that people have. I have my colleagues from Excel. He went for a 5 years course in filmmaking, or somebody after MBA, and I'm not just saying engineering. Somebody went for a 2 years course in yoga, and now she is a yoga teacher. Somebody went into arts appreciation, and they wanted to get into the literature side. I have another colleague of mine who actually did, and again after engineering and MBA, and then she did her PhD in literature, and she's teaching in Delhi now. So there is no limit to the number of choices. Everything is open. Just treat engineering as a graduation. See, technically speaking, engineering is something that people should have, those who have passion for engineering should have gotten into it. But I think from the background we come from, and like Anand mentioned, it was a backup option for a lot of us, that at least you will get a job. Otherwise, many of us may not have gone for engineering and maybe just gone for graduation. So engineering, treat it as a degree. After that, everything is possible, right from MBA to MTech to PhD. And again, you can go back to social sciences, which we typically were a little scared of right after 12th, because from the background we come from, we just want that surety. So everything is available. Yeah. So the choices are unlimited. Maybe none of us will be able to tell you the choices. Maybe Google uncle would be a better guide to kind of explore all the options that are available.
Yeah, I agree.
अपूर्वा मैं इसमें ऐड करना चाहूंगा.
Yes,
No, go ahead.
Can I?
yes.
Yeah.
ये जो चॉइसेस हैं, आज की तारीख में अगर आप किसी भी बैच का एनालिसिस कर लीजिएगा, कितने अपनी जो उन्होंने जिस ब्रांच में इंजीनियरिंग की थी उसमें काम कर रहे हैं। सिर्फ कंप्यूटर साइंस वालों को हटा दीजिएगा उससे, तो आप पाएंगे कि बहुत कम। ये जो चीजें हैं ये अपने आप ग्रो करती जाती हैं। शुरुआत में आप मैस्लो के लॉ के सबसे नीचे वाले लेवल के लिए काम करते हैं, तो आपको चाहिए कि नौकरी मिल जाए, कुछ मिल जाए, मैं स्टार्ट करूं अपना एक रूटीन स्टार्ट करूं, लाइफ का रोजी रोटी कमाऊं। जब वो मिलने लगता है देन आप यू स्टार्ट थिंकिंग कि आपके इंटरेस्ट क्या है, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट एक्सप्लोरिंग योरसेल्फ। तो वन बाय विल कम टू नो कि व्हिच इज योर पैशन, सो एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू योर ओन कंडीशंस। मेरे को जो पैशन मैं परस्यू माय पैशन मे बी जस्ट आफ्टर इंजीनियरिंग। अगर मुझे नौकरी करनी है तो पहले मुझे नौकरी नहीं, तो आगे के ऑप्शंस क्या होने हैं, और बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं डिपेंडिंग ऑन पर्सनल चॉइसेस। इट्स एज समवन राइटली सेड, इट्स ओनली ए बेस। आपको एक पहला बेस मिला, साउंड एक कह सकते हैं बढ़िया लॉन्चिंग पैड मिला है, उसके बाद लाइफ की सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज ओपन है।
Yeah, I see. And I know initially it is tough, to think about something which is completely different from what you've been doing right now. So, like Raman said, think of this as a graduation, maybe get into a job if that's important to you. Obviously, you know your life situation the best, right? You know whether you need to actually start earning immediately or you have like that little bit of time to do so. So you have to make those choices, and the choice. And right now, I don't think we need to be bothered about, oh, you know what, I'm 30 years old, I'm like stuck in this. It's not true. You can like make a career change at 50, you can make a career change at 60. So, that way, I think the world has really changed, and it's a great thing for all of us. So you have to just look at what makes most sense for you and kind of make that decision. But just be clear that you can do anything that you want to, as long as you feel you have the aptitude for it and you really want to get into something. Like I think what Raman said, this yoga teacher thing is something that I've also seen a lot. I mean, a lot of my friends have retired at 42 and gotten into yoga, and they just yoga exponents now. There are people who then decide that they want to be like mountaineers and like run mountaineering companies. So yeah, but obviously it depends on your life stage and what you're able to afford at each part of your life. But time is no longer, as much of a challenge as it maybe as we used to think it was. Maybe it never was, but
If I can just absolutely, if I can just throw a spin here, I mean, there's a lot of people waiting to have sitting with loads of money, waiting for great ideas. I think forget the job, come up with some idea, go pitch it to an investor, make it big. There are guys just waiting to invest on good ideas. So I'm sure, MNIT. I mean, why do I keep killing MNRs? Sorry. Bright students, the right kind of education, the great ideas. Think beyond. I mean, just go beyond the obvious.
Yeah. And once the gentleman is Mr. Thamrai here, so just give them
yeah.
his name also.
So we have some able friends who in our batch itself who have this kind of money to put on good ideas. So any great idea, Nair is another man who incubates these kind of ideas. We have few other friends who are actual investors. So yeah, that's always an option.
Right. Thank you for the answers. I have another question for Summarize sir from one of the attendees. So, how does one choose between different streams available for MBA, like sales, HR, finance?
Very good question. I mean, so again, it goes back to where do you see yourself? I mean, I think the after, I mean, typically you make that choice, and at IMK that was the format. I'm sure it's the same format elsewhere as well. So after first year, you get the choice to pick up the stream. And then by the time you realize where you stand in the pecking order and how intelligent you are, so So typically that's one of the choices, that where do you want to stand. So but most of the smartest and the smartest go towards finance. That's the usual trend, and they make their career in that. My choice was very simple because I had a sales background, so it was not a difficult choice to make. So I picked sales as an option, and then you had
Villa
IT
food.
as third option. Sorry. Yeah, so you also had IT as another option, which they called as systems. So that was obviously picked up by people who actually had come from that background. So in especially in the batch that I represented, we had a good mix of people with a lot of work experience, uh, and they exactly knew why they came to that college and what they wanted to do, and why they picked this as a career. So general management was another very popular stream among people who had 10 plus years of experience, and people who came from civil services to do MBA. So they were very clear that they wanted to general management because that's what they would use there. So and the question is, like, probably Maitri could answer that question, that when you go in without any, as someone straight from the college, how do you make that choices? Maybe she would be a better person. But in my case and in my batch, because most of them were work experience, they exactly knew what to pick as a choice. Maitri, maybe you want to pitch in to kind of
Yeah.
answer this.
Yeah. Yes. So honestly, again, I don't think it was about a choice. So like Tamarai said, I think most of the people who come straight from their graduation to the postgraduate courses, we weren't sure. And in IMA, we also, yes, we could have picked something, but it was all general. So there was no specific, it wasn't that I specialized in anything. So it was more of general management. So I could, pick anything that I wanted, even when I was looking for jobs. So for me, it was more like, which industry I wanted to be in. And I knew that I didn't want to be in finance. Like Tamarai said, at the beginning, whether you have the aptitude or not. So, and then finally it was like, okay, I got two, three options within that, whichever sounds exciting, or in sometime in most of the cases, whichever pays better, you kind of pick that as the first option, as your first job that you take. And then you kind of, if it doesn't suit you, then obviously you start looking out after a year or two. Um, but I don't think that it was about, I was really clear about aptitude. And I know I can speak for a lot of my batchmates who, we kind of just fell into it by accident, so to say, or, we applied for a plethora of jobs. We may have got two, three jobs. Within that, you know, um, there were some decision-making criteria. And for most of us, the decision-making, one of the main decision-making criteria was which paid the best at that point in time, because you just wanted to be earning really well. And then after that, you realized whether you liked it or not and made choices. It's always about choices. So you continue that journey throughout your career.
And Purva, just add again, I would tell the students not to worry too much about those choices. Either you are very clear, so you know you are financially, as in you like finance or you like IT, something you will be clear. Otherwise, take up a course, and when you start working later in corporate, if you are a good employee, companies will give you a choice to move across. So don't worry too much about it. So either then you don't have to worry about how to make choice, and if you don't know, then just get into it, be a great professional, and then all the choices will again open to you even when you start working as a professional.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I would like to address one last question from the audience, which is like, what is the role of networking when you pursue higher education, be it MBA or civil services or MTech? It is an open question, anyone can
Yeah,
answer.
I'll probably take this because we just had. So in Singapore, we have something called it's Impact, which is nothing but IIMPACT, which is what we organize every year, and it is attended by the who's who of the Singapore fraternity, who are right there. I mean, including, if I have to take names, the CEO of DBS Bank in Singapore is from Ahmedabad, and he is right there. And then you have this whole uh, uh, who's who of the industry from banking, finance, and you name it, and you have them. So I think, and this is my personal feeling, is my personal opinion. I'm sorry, is that your your horizon in terms of the amount of network that you establish, passing out of a reputed college, just increases, and it does have a multiplier effect. So uh, that you cannot take out. I mean, again, choices and what decisions you make in terms of what to pick, what not to pick, keeping all of them aside, just going to a premier institute increases your horizon in terms of how much you can do in terms of knowing people and connecting with people, and it just creates that ripple effect. And you can, I mean, I'm not saying you misuse it, but you can definitely use it for your professional reasons as well, and for the better use of the professional reasons. I'll let my colleagues, I'm not sorry, colleagues, I'm so used to saying colleagues, I'm sorry, my friends, to answer. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So Purva, I like to add to this what Thamrai has said, and it's a good question, and I'll pick up from what Anand also added earlier. So I think most of us as engineers, we are here because we can work hard. So these are skills and competencies which are just dependent on us, and that's what we are good at. And you want to do this, you will put effort, you do this. I think two other things that you realize later on which becomes important. One, which Anand said earlier, one is luck. And sometimes I think all of you need to factor that in, that luck will play a big role. You can't deny it, you can't resign to it, but at the same time you need to accept it and allow it to guide your choices. And the other important thing is the role of others, which typically our academic institutions don't teach us, but this networking etc becomes very, very important. So what you can do, your efforts, your intelligence, your resilience, your openness to learning, all those are embedded in you, but do factor in luck, and the role that others will play in your life will be very, very important for all of you.
True.
I think Matri had a hard stop. Matri, I think it's your time, right?
It's time, and I mean, I honestly don't have anything to add to what both you summarized said. I think you covered it all.
Anand, you're speaking on mute. Anand, you're speaking on mute.
So, sorry, I got disconnected. Network issue was there. Can you repeat the question for me? What exactly was asked? Yeah, what was the opinion was being sought?
The importance of networking in higher education.
In higher education or for the future, for the life?
They said higher education, but we kind of generalize it for otherwise also.
See, it's all about, yes, it's a network gives you power, at least in the government and the bureaucracy. It multiplies by some power. It's exponential. If you have a network of 10, your power may not be 10 times. It will be around 40 times. If you network with 60 guys, your power will be again increasing. So networking is very important. The government, not even for doing something wrong, even to do good job, even to perform your job properly, you need to be networked. That's a one type of networking you make. You need to make networking your batches in the civil services, with the sister services, and that is power. That is the basic power where you can accomplish any job anywhere. And what are the college friends you have in the different departments, different companies? The networking helps you understand any issue by the horse's mouth, from the horse's mouth. मुझे कुछ काम करना है, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा, अपने बैचमेट से पूछता है, डाटा एनालिटिक्स बता दे यार, आज प्रेजेंटेशन लेना है, वो मुझे समझा देगा, and then I can explain. So you gain knowledge by network, you gain power by networking. So one should have a good network where everybody is ready to help and guide and mentor at that moment. So network बिल्कुल करिए और जितना कर सकते हो उतना करिए.
Perfect. So now I would like to conclude the session as we are running short of time now. And thank you everyone, especially the panelists, for such an insightful session. It will definitely be fruitful for all the attendees. And special thanks to Abhishek sir, Geetika ma'am, Vandana ma'am, and Sudhir sir to be
Thank
present.
you. And please do. We are all, I think, most of us
Thank
are
you.
available on LinkedIn. So do try and spot us on LinkedIn. Connect. and if anything that we can do, during your courses or after your college, anything that we can be of help. This is what alumni is for, right? This is exactly what we are here for. And please feel free to connect with us and reach out for anything that you would want to know about your careers and what you want to do. All the best to everyone.
All the best.
Thank you,
And
sir.
just to say a word, thank you very much, all of you. Great to see you again. And Maitreyi, yeah, long time. So, and another thing I just wanted to say about networking, that was the last question and the most pertinent question, because your first network is your alumni.
Correct.
So that is how they are here. And I'm sure, as Tamarai said, that they will be happy to help you out if there are any issues. So, and they are here sparing a weekend for you and talking about your issues. So thank you very much from all of us. And yes, MNR will continue to be MNR for all of you.
Yeah.
Really tough time to call it MNIT, and you would be surprised to know. And I keep on telling the young generations that you have never been part of MNR. Still, they would say college. Still, they will say class test, CTs. CTs don't exist anymore, but they would say CTs. So the generation actually learns from previous generation. They don't learn from us. So networking is important. So thank you
Thank you.
very much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you,
Nice.
everybody.
Thank you
Thank you.
all. Wish you all
Thank
all the
you.
very best.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Stay
you, sir.
safe, stay
And
healthy.
Maitreyi,
Bye.
you are in
Good
UK
luck.
still, or
Bye-bye.
have you come back?
So,
She's left. Okay.
yeah,
So
sure.
okay, yeah.
Thank
Okay
you.
then, all of you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Purva, for coordinating well.
Thank you, ma'am.